Flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. To the republic under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Sounds good. Everyone, please be seated. Okay, the minutes aren't quite ready, so we're going to not approve those for tonight, and we will move that to next month when we'll do two. All right. As far as the supervisor's report, which I'm going to go into in 1 minute. Try to be short and sweet tonight, and then we added an executive session to the end of our agenda because we have something important to talk about. Okay, so financials were good again. The facility rentals are at 188% of goal. Interest and earnings, 410% of goal, or our stated budget is. The real property rentals at 141%. Building permits at 133%. So total revenue is up over 8%. You guys have your cash flow sheets were 8% over goal, and the expenses are up 1% over goal. But I think there's some timing issues we have to look at tomorrow to see if we put things in the right month.
I got one question on the cash flow. You only show February as property tax receipt. Should that maybe be the total through May?
It should be, but since she's closing out, we're just going to put the grand total at the very end.
Oh, okay, all right.
So, I mean, I know we started to do it, and then the reporting wasn't coming in as perfectly as it should be. So we decided to wait till the end and tally it up then.
All right, thanks.
Okay. All right, so just a few updates and I've got some things to share from other areas. So we had a very, very successful for you guys, since you weren't here, John was here. We had a very successful active shooter and stop the bleed presentation yesterday by the Dutchess County Sheriff Department and the emergency, the medical corps that's part of the Department of Health. So we were in here for a couple of hours. I mean, they did a Deputy Sheriff Mike DeRosa was fantastic, and just a terrific speaker, and we watched some pretty heart-wrenching videos, but then I think everybody learned a lot about what to do if there was a situation like that. So I think we really want to thank Deputy Sheriff Mike DeRosa and Wendy, Katie, Eileen, and Mitchell from the Medical Reserve Corps. They all did an outstanding job, and then all the employees stood around here and learned to apply tourniquets. Special tourniquets that the EMTs use, or
first aid
they use
stuff.
in combat. Put those tourniquets on, and we now know what supplies we need to get to have a trauma kit just always available.
Good.
So, which is good, and they're going to be able to help us with the defibrillators to go through those, and they can do a training class.
Oh, excellent.
So we're going to try to, we'll get that stuff straightened out, which is good. Now on June 10th, we had our first centenarian party in Time Warp Park for Al Posel and Jane Geisler. And I don't know, Andrea, did we put those pictures on the website today?
I think I'm missing a few, so when I get the full set, then I'll put them all up.
Oh, good. Okay, so everybody look for those tomorrow. Those are just adorable. That party, those are two lovely people, and the people that came to wish them well were great. Thank you, Councilman Derlin, for being there to help. Andrea Casey, our town clerk, was there. Andrea and I were waitresses and served as best we could, but they were just a lovely group. And I mean, it's hard to imagine it being 100 and being that really they're happy and sweet.
Hey, it's a healthy town. That's how long you lived here.
Yeah, there you go. It's a good ad for Unionville. As far as other things, there's a lot of things that went on this month, but the MS4 went into the DEC as required. Our cash audits were completed. As you all know, you got copies of those. The big audit is being done, and today our CPA sent in a request of all the things he likes to look at. So those will be sent back to him tomorrow. So we'll keep you posted as he goes through that. In addition, the constable mandated annual training has been scheduled in August, which we did same time last year. So that's up and running and going. We have some news from some other areas. I talked to our staff meteorologist, Josh Redinger, who's the head of our team.
Oh, okay.
And he sent me a report and for us to talk about. This is on the agenda. And what Josh said was, after he looked, because the way some of these things are written up is hard to tell. I asked him about community night and the weather. And he said, I'd say about a 50 to 75% chance of some heavy showers Friday night. Lightning cannot be ruled out. They'll be scattered all over. So unfortunately, you can't really time them out. The threat will be all evening. I would imagine it's a good idea to postpone.
Okay,
So, and, so he says he reads through and gets he looks at the different notes to make sure they're not just talking about 1 hour of time. But that was his synopsis. So we'll talk about that as it arises. As far as the Historical Society, I have all their updates. We have a new set of officers, but we're still lacking one. The president will be Cassandra Redinger, vice president Lalita Malik, secretary Joanna Frang, and the treasurer, Matt Winchester, just had to resign due to some personal family reasons. So there is a treasurer slot open. Their next event is the summer picnic on August 9th at 6 p.m., which will be here in the park. So anyone interested in joining can come to the picnic and register to join the society. And there's a UV Historical Society at gmail.com for those that are interested. So, and that should be on the website. So that's really good. Now, I'm going to go through the Conservation Advisory Council stuff because it has to do with all the land use things we have planned this year. They planted the pollinator garden around the flagpole, which is great. We haven't done our flag raising yet because we wanted to get it all spruced up over there. We've got to get the solar lights shining up. And next Tuesday, I have a meeting with the landscaper from the solar company. And what they're going to do they're going to take out a lot of some of those boxwoods, maybe move them down and plant viburnums and things that will bloom and grow really fast.
oh,
And it's a good thing because remember when and I remember us talking, remember when we picked all the plants that we wanted and the guy didn't pick up any of them?
yeah.
He planted the boxwoods, which
That's
is
what
not on our
yeah.
list. So based on that, they're going to be able to go back to that company and
Confront them?
Yeah,
Good.
and get it paid for. But either way, the first company, the construction company or our solar developer, they're going to pay for it.
Wow.
So
good.
they weren't going to do the whole, it's definitely that front section around where the flagpole is to the left and the right of the drive-in, and then they'll work their way down. Maybe they'll do some this year and some next year. But at least viburnums grow. They'll go, in 2 years, they'll be as that fence. And they bloom. So
Then I
anyway,
cut them down because they'll block the solar.
yeah, no, they're not that tall. Yeah. They
Okay,
just
okay.
5 feet.
Oh,
Perfect.
Yeah.
So anyway, they planted their pollinator garden and that flagpole will look pretty with the backing that's planned. They're working on the scenic overlay district. We've discussed this in a meeting 2 meetings ago when we laid out the list of what we wanted to do. So they're working on the scenic overlay, the flood overlay, and the natural resource overlay, which is already finished, but we have to add a few things to it. And all of these will end up being approved by the board. If they are, then they become an appendix to the master plan. So a lot happening, which is very good. And these groups they're doing a very nice job. As far as correspondence, I'm going to read a couple of things that came up that are very interesting. Got a really nice email from Bonnie Ozirkis, and I want to share it with you guys saw it and share it with other people.
Mhm.
She said to thank all who were involved in planning the centenarian birthday party for Al and Jane. I would like to extend a heartfelt thank you. I think that everyone really enjoyed themselves. I know that Al had a very good time. In addition to celebrating with those of us whom he sees fairly regularly, he got to spend time with friends and neighbors whom he doesn't get to see as often. The food was great. The cake was beautiful. All in all, I think it was a very successful party and a great way to honor these two very special people. Well done. Sincerely, Bonnie Ozirkis. And I just wanted to thank the board for approving that. So now we'll have an annual centenarian party. And I think it's a good thing for that. The next piece of correspondence, which I think is fantastic. This is enclosed herewith. Please, this is from Gorbally, Gartland, and Rapelier in Millbrook. Enclosed herewith, please find a receipt and release for $10,000, which represents a specific request to the town under the last will and testament of Edward J. Sharkey.
Well, he was a wonderful man. I'm so pleased that he thought of us in his will. And
Yeah.
he was a very patriotic man, wonderful citizen, and sorry we lost him early this year, but
Yeah.
wonderful man.
So the papers have been signed, and then once we receive all the releases, a check in the sum of $10,000 will be mailed to you.
Very
That's
generous.
from Alan Rapelier. So
Mhm.
isn't that very
Great.
nice? Okay, the other thing I wanted to mention for our seniors who will get this information a little bit later, the Office of the Aging has those regular senior picnics. And last year we spent a little time talking about rebuilding together Dutchess County when we wanted them to come in and help Matt Wobshanak. Remember that?
Mhm.
They're very nice people. They come in and they really help out a lot. And they are asking for volunteers for Wednesday, June 28th, that picnic. If we can get some seniors or anybody, frankly, to sell raffle tickets. They arrive early at Bowden Park by 11 for setup. but they get a free meal and they get a lot of, meeting a lot of new people. And these people rebuilding together for Duchess will get the benefit of some of that 50-50 raffle. So they're hoping people will come. So if any of you are listening, Wednesday, June 28th, sign up. And the last thing I have as far as correspondence, one I've got for you guys that's under new business that we won't go through now. And as usual, we're in good shape here. But we did get our letter from NYMER talking about the property losses from member highway and public works departments. It's exceeded $12 million. In December alone, 3 DPW facilities experienced significant fire losses caused by electrical fires involving heavy trucks. Those 3 losses alone total $4.6 million. And most of the fire losses are avoidable. So what they wanted was the master battery disconnect the MBD switches to cut the power to heavy trucks and equipment when not in use and stored inside. It's always been strongly encouraged. And I know Ed and I talked about this last year. So I get this letter and they sent me the list of our stuff. And I said, Ed, we got to do, what's the story? We got to talk about the MBD. And Ed said, well, didn't you tell me, didn't we do that last year? They're all done. So the good news is Ed took care of this last year when I got a letter, but this year they're requiring it. So I already called them and told them you had gotten it done. They're thrilled, and I'll send this in. And guess what? Our insurance will not be dinged as a result of us being in compliance. But it's a huge loss that those trucks, not only for the insurance. I heard that there was a garage where the whole row went out at once. It's just crazy.
We lost our garage in excess of another $2 million.
Yeah. It's such, well, thank you for getting those switches done. Okay, well, that is it for correspondence. I think I've covered enough. Now I'd like to turn it over to board member reports. Councilman Welsh.
Okay, I would just like to comment that I attended the active shooter and stop the bleed training yesterday morning here, and I was one of the large group of town employees, and I thought it was very worthwhile and appropriate, and something you don't want to think about, but something you really need to know what to do and what the strategy is if something ever that bad ever happened.
Yeah,
It's good that there was training available.
good. Glad you were there too. Councilman Jolin?
Sure. I not much, but other than attending the centenary party, it's pretty well attended and some really amazing
People.
young people.
Get hard.
No, they were really nice people. It's nice to meet them or talk to them again. And, that was nice. And then the fire department's car show, also really well attended and really nice about it.
Yeah, that was great.
That was it.
Yeah, thanks for being there. Councilman McGivney.
Yeah, I'd like to just say there's a lot of good things happening in Timor. I was at the horse show a couple weeks ago. Great time there, great show. And Community Day coming up, depending on the weather, that would be another good one to attend.
Yeah, should be a lot of fun. Hope it, well, we'll talk about it. Yeah. Councilman Vesicov.
I don't have anything to report this time.
Oh, yeah, you've been busy.
Quiet.
Quiet. Okay, well, thank you very much. How about our town highway superintendent report?
So hopefully, some of the residents have noticed that we finished all of our major paving projects for this year.
Yeah.
Including
Very
the
nice.
chip.
Yeah.
The only downside that I can see, there's always a downside to everything. Is I'm afraid that Tompkins Road is gonna turn into a grass strip. Because it is smooth as glass and a long straight run.
Oh, boy.
So, and that's not an invitation. Having said that, I'd like to just throw out a thank you to a couple of the towns that gave us some trucks to help us finish up our oil and chip project. We were done in 2 days. Town of Dover gave us 2 trucks, 2 drivers. Town of Washington gave us 1 truck, 1 driver. Town of Clinton gave us 1 truck, 1 driver. Town of Amenia was in a big paving project on Tower Hill Road, and they actually let a truck go to come help us. So I'd like to thank those towns for, the cooperation.
Yeah.
And that'll be reciprocating with our truck going up to help them. So we are working together with the towns. As I hope everyone's seeing, we are mowing the roadsides. We're diligently trying to build a pothole. So if you see a pothole, let me know so we can take care of it. The dirt roads have been graded first time around. The guys are now shouldering the roads that we just put the new asphalt down on. We're working on tree removal. We've got a company coming in and I've selected the trees and he's coming in and piecemealing it as he gets time to do it. So that we're not gonna have a huge bill all at one time. So that's pretty much what we're up to.
And we got all the receipts in for chips. Looks like tomorrow we'll get the last one.
Good.
So we could submit that this week or Monday.
Hopefully we can get that one back sometime in July.
Good. Great, great, great. Thank you so much.
And as always, if you see something, say something so I can fix it
That's right.
or try to fix it.
Thank you. Superintendent, town clerk.
We've been very busy, of course, with all the events that were just mentioned, and I hope everyone's purging for shredding day. It will come up fast. September 27th is the Wednesday, and as always, I will post the information about the timing the day of, unfortunately. So just stay tuned and feel free to call me. I will put you on my call list for same day time updates.
Great, thank you very much. All right. Any public comments on agenda items? Okay, hearing none, let's move on. Board, committee, commission, council reports. I kind of gave those as submitted to me earlier during the supervisor's report, so we can turn to the departmental reports. And if you councilmen don't mind reading them, we'll start with the parks report. I'll start with you, Councilman Welsh. Do you have it?
Yes. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Barry. Parks report dated 6/21/23. The composting toilet project at the Equestrian Center is looking amazing. I am waiting on one piece so I can install the toilet, and this coming week I will be installing the roofing. After that, all that is left is the painting. Second, since the last meeting, the Equestrian Center has had their horse pull and summer horse show, which both went super well from all reports. The crew is in full summer mode. Preparations for summer camp are just about set, and camp starts this coming Monday. The grass, which has slowed down somewhat, has slowed somewhat now, is still growing. Soccer fields being lined and the daily park routine. I had the opportunity to help the CAC out with the pollinator garden at our new flagpole by bringing in gravel for them. The whole project looks great. As always, I just would like to shout out to my entire staff in the Parks and Rec Department for always stepping up and doing a great job. They have been working like crazy to get everything prepped and ready to go for everyone to have a great summer.
Nice job, Jay. You know, they painted the pillars out front. Did you see?
Oh, yeah, I
that?
saw that. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, they have them
that's
ready.
great. And the only add-on I have is that, remember, we approved that engineering report on the drainage down there, if we want to switch to the
Yes.
soccer.
Right.
They're in the middle of that. That'll be ready to be reviewed by us. It'll be presented at the next town board meeting. So,
Oh, wonderful.
yeah,
Okay.
so they've been working on it. They've got it mostly, it's just about done, but we'll see them next month. Okay, next up, recreation. Councilman Derlin, you want to take that one?
Sure. The recreation. We had a full house for our paint and sip event this past Friday. Participants enjoyed an evening of fun with friends and family and created amazing summer themed paintings. We look forward to starting this event series again in the fall. A huge thank you to the band directors, Richard Gillian and Evan Evan, what's his name? Evan R.
Very
As
good.
well as the Arlington Jazz ensembles that performed at our Music in the Park event on June 2nd. Family and friends enjoyed an evening of good jazz and food at the park. We hope to host this event again next spring. Registration is open for our Time War Trail Series night run for July 29th. Check-in will start at 6 p.m. and the race will begin at 7 p.m. Participants can get a chance to run or walk a trail course at night and enjoying roasting marshmallows at the finish line. The link to register and find more information can be found on the Parks and Rec website. Monday we begin our season of summer camp. All Parks and Rec staff have been working hard each day to prepare the park and pool, and our summer staff is eager to get to work and offer great programs for all of our campers.
Great, thank you. We had the health department was in again today. They were reviewing all the files. Everything checked out great. I mean, they're in really good shape and have some fun things planned. So I think it's going to be a nice camp season. Councilman Gibney, do you want to do the constable report?
Constable report, monthly report for May 2023. Constables patrol approximately 699 miles of town roads, including all properties. Field Explorer with 46.2 gallons of gasoline. The 3 town court dates total 16 cases on the dockets with 5 actual appearances and 5 cases were pleaded guilty by mail. There were no issues to report. Constables report the following during patrols: 513 violation issued for fishing without a town license. 517 resident lost car keys at Time War. Owner thought the keys were locked in a vehicle. Dutchess County Sheriff assisted in unlocking the doors. Keys were not found. Car parked overnight at the park. Respectfully submitted, George Treadwell.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Gussakoff, Animal Control Report.
Animal control report for the month of April 2023. During the month of May, there were no lost or found dogs and 2 wildlife calls. When outside, even on your own property, please be aware of surroundings, as this is the time of year that wildlife are raising their young. Young fawns, bear cubs, and baby foxes are commonly seen in our area. Advertently, coming in between a mother and her offspring can be very dangerous. Respectfully, Mary Jean Calvi.
Thank you.
Good
And
advice.
we've got that bear that's going around Clove Valley. And I just want to make sure, have you seen it too? Just want to make sure everybody know. I got my neighbor was texting me this morning saying, don't feed the bear. And he was laying down under a tree like right in between 2 properties. And he was just laying there, hanging out. And they thought maybe we were feeding him. I said, no, but don't feed him. But he's wandering all around the Clove. So I'm sure there are many, many others. All right, thank you for all those reports. Now we're going to move into old business. So we have talked about the short-term rental, on residential units for some time. And we've come up with our own set of guidelines, which we'll discuss. I just want to make sure also in your mailboxes, did you get the copy of the Town of Washington's policy? It's hard to read. But did you put these in the mailboxes, Andrea, for the?
I didn't, I don't know if anyone did.
No, I mean, this is the one that comes into you from the town, from the town clerk.
Copies for you.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay, so you know what we'll do, we'll say, it's hard to read because they copied it on double pages, so I was struggling with it. But the Town of Washington completed theirs. We'll make a copy of these. You can take them home with you at the end. I thought for some reason I misunderstood. I thought that was in the mailboxes, but I guess Mr. Battistoni, you know a little bit more about this. Is there any way, do you mind giving us an overview since I didn't see a copy yet?
Simply say that our firm represents the town of Washington, so I was involved with the drafting of that local law. The town of Washington probably has the most restrictive proposal I've seen for regulating short-term rentals, and compared to Union Vale's is much less restrictive.
Yeah, okay, and that's where all these details are about. It's
Yeah.
longer than ours is. So we'll put copies, you can take them home and read them, but seems a lot more stringent. And I did send out on Union Vale Mail a copy of the whole package that we put together, the simple one with the checklist. And there's a man that wrote me back and he said, this is exactly what we like. You guys are hands off and you make us do it ourselves. And he said, this is what we love about Union Vale, which I thought was nice, consistent with what our attorney is saying. So we've sent it out. It's been on the website. We've had we didn't have any town comments on agenda items. Did you guys want to talk about an agenda item by chance? We passed that part. Okay. So we didn't have any, we're going to have a public hearing about this anyway. So we can talk about it later, but it consists of the registration form and a self-inspection checklist. Very straightforward. They bring it to town hall, they don't get it, they sign it and it gets notarized. They'll submit a drawing that'll show the entrances and the exits. And then they will get a operating permit from the building department, which needs to be displayed. So it's very straightforward. Our focus is on fire safety and on garbage, making sure people have a place for their garbage.
Mhm.
All right, so that's really what we have to discuss, and we have a resolution of introduction shortly. And I think that our second item of old business, we pretty much covered. We had the first annual party for the resident centenarians, and I think it was great that everybody agreed to do that. We'll do that every year. As far as new business, let's talk about community night. It's supposed to be Friday. We heard from our meteorologist. It's consistent with what NOAA has on it. The proposed postponement date by recreation is what did I say? I kept saying
July
June, it's
22nd.
July 22.
July
I said June,
22nd.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that would be a Saturday night, since now that camp season is going to be in full, or we can't really do anything during the week. So if everybody, I don't see, based on what Josh looked at and told us, I don't know that we have any way around it. The fireworks folks are completely amenable. They're getting that phone call from all over the county. We're not going to do it Friday. So how do you feel about postponing? It's just, we've got a lot of coordinating to do because we have all those departments, you know, and all that fun stuff coming. So we'll just have to, I'll send out a mass email and.
Yeah, I think that's all we can do at this
Yeah, we should
point.
definitely postpone it.
Can't have it if the weather's not
Weather's
safe. Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't work. It's such a fun
Not worth the
event.
chance.
Yeah. All right. I don't know that we'll just, it's not really a voting item. We'll just take care of what's necessary. Okay, now next up is the Burbank Rural Cemetery Association request for funds. So does anybody have, I don't have the letter in front of me yet. Do you want to read that out loud? Oh, you can read it, Councilman. Do you mind? Somebody-
mind.
Oh, there it is. Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks.
it's from the Burbank Rural Cemetery Association to the Unionville Supervisor and Town Board. Please consider allotting $2,100 to the Burbank Rural Cemetery to use for mowing this summer. Cemetery has enough in the checking account for one additional mowing for the summer. You could also have the town do the mowing as needed. If the Cemetery Association can no longer fund the work, the cemetery would be turned over to the town to keep up. No further plots to be sold, and the town would have to locate plots already sold and have them opened as needed for burials. The interest from 2 CDs can be used, which amounts to about $140 a month. The principal of the accounts is in the New York State funds and cannot be used for expenses. Thank you for your consideration, the cemetery trustees.
What I have to add, when we went to the Association of Towns, they had a long class on this. And that happens all around, the country, but then the town has to resume the responsibility of the cemetery, the upkeep and everything else.
If it's abandoned,
If it's abandoned, if the board abandons the cemetery itself, then the town has to pick it up.
yeah,
So unless we get funds from people, it would be essentially turned over to the town as a town expense.
Well, I mean, the law says that, and there was an attorney there, and I was gonna call him tomorrow, because I just got this letter, I guess late yesterday. So we haven't had time to do our research, but I think the attorney, I was gonna talk to him, but also, I mean, there's Alfreda's involved in this, and you're involved in cemeteries.
not this one though.
Not this one. No, I know.
Yeah,
But you know a little bit about it, but it just seems to me that in a rising interest rate environment, to have CDs that aren't laddered or that are just, I don't know, I'm not really sure how it's set up. Maybe there's a way we could review with them and help them out.
yeah, I think a management advice would be more appropriate than financial advice.
So maybe could we perhaps, before we make a decision on this, maybe we have a meeting and get our information about, because they had some ideas at this meeting that the attorney that was present had some ideas, because this goes on as Councilman Guskow said all the state. But I really think the way that she's describing this, it looks like it needs a little reorganization too.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it.
And then maybe you could be present at that meeting and we could get their trustees over and we can have a conversation with them. Okay,
Sounds like.
why don't we schedule that next, and then we can put this back on the agenda for next month after we get that meeting done.
Sure.
All right.
Yeah,
All right, that'd be great. All right, we just need a little more homework and a little more time. All right, now the escrow, this is some interesting stuff. So when we redid the town center, the zone with the open conservation district and all that, the 50% trying to keep the space open, we now have to look at our escrow fee schedule, which we had approved in February, but it's got a few disconnects, as it says multifamily residential up to 20 units, and we only allow up to 12 units now, because we define multifamily as apartments. That's the very last page of the package of the master fee schedule. That's the escrow, sorry. Very last page. In
Okay.
that stapled package. Here,
okay,
this one is this, here's this one. Go to that last page. And The other thing is that we also added the new category of townhouses. So we need to, when they're having a site plan review. So we need to specify townhouses, and we need to specify, multifamily is not up to 20 units, it's up to 12. So there's some things. Anyway, so we did some research and we've gotten escrow fee schedules from towns similar in size to ours. We weren't looking at Wappinger or East Fishkill or anything, but we've got Pleasant Valley, Amenia, Washington, Stanford, Dover, which is a little, it's just very extensive, and then Clinton, which is like private. Their master fee schedule is kind of typed out like ours, and then the town of Warwick, which had some interesting stuff. So anyway, it's a lot, I know. So what we thought was we take a look at this. I get that George has the same package, and he's going to make a recommendation. We can all look at it.
Okay.
If there's anything else we want to change or add to it, excuse me, it's a good time to do it. So we can review all this information, and I'm going to put it on for a discussion in the July meeting. And we don't have to worry about it, I don't think, till then. So,
Okay.
but at least everybody will feel informed.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear what George has to say.
Yeah, and we get to see, we can take a look at what other people are doing, and have a good discussion in July. All right?
Yeah,
Okay, so that's not pressing, that's just good information for you. All right, well, we really, I mean, we have the next up is our resolutions and motions, and we have in that category our local law introduction
Mhm.
for local law number 2 of 2023. But it's often the case, I mean, since it's been on the website and since we sent it out on Unionville Mail, and since this resolution of introduction I think people are really probably fully informed about it, but they've got time to look at it again because we're having a public hearing in July on the residential short-term rentals, like the Airbnb stuff. So we're having a public hearing in July, so anybody can take a look at this and come back and we'll hear from them then. So that suggests that we can waive the formal reading of the entire resolution since it was distributed to board members last, 3 weeks ago? Twice, it's been distributed twice.
yes.
Does anybody want to read this out loud, or do you feel comfortable since you've had it on your desk so long?
I feel comfortable
We've gone
just
over
reading
this
it.
quite a
Yeah,
few times,
this
yeah.
is,
Yeah, it's been a lot. Okay,
yeah,
so I'll make the motion that we waive the formal reading, and since it's been posted, people can read
I'll
it.
second.
Okay, all in favor of waiving?
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Okay, motion carries. We will waive that reading. Everybody can see it online or in their Unionville mail. And then we will look forward to that public hearing. Which brings me to July 5th is the work session, but on July 19th, just to remind everybody, we'll have a public hearing at 7
Okay.
for this
Mhm.
local law.
Sure.
And then the regular board meeting will
Follow
follow
right
as
after.
soon as that finishes.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, now.
If I may interrupt, you do need someone to move the adoption of the resolution of introduction. Someone has to second it and just vote on it.
No, you
You
didn't put
waive the
that.
formal
in.
reading, but you actually have to introduce it.
Thanks for keeping us on top.
I don't see that written here. Okay, oh, we do, yeah, we really do, don't we? That makes complete
Yeah.
sense, because now we're passing it on, and we have to submit it to the county as well. So may I have who'd like to offer the resolution?
I would like to offer the resolution.
Would like to second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Councilman. Is there any discussion about this local law or the resolution of introduction to have a public hearing on July 19th? Hearing none, I'd like to ask for a roll call vote, please.
Councilman Welch,
Aye.
Councilman Derland,
Aye.
Councilman McGivney, Councilman Desicoff,
Aye.
Supervisor Ross.
Aye. All right, local law number 2, the resolution of introduction. Passes, carries, and we'll see everybody in July 19th. Okay, can somebody move that we pay the bills?
So move.
All right, we will pay the bills. Is there a second on that?
Second.
All right, all in favor of paying the bills?
Aye.
Great. The bills will be paid. Motion carries. Are there any public comments on agenda items? I mean, on town issues? Did you want to say something? You look like you might. Yeah, did you want to say it? You want a town issue? Do you want to come right up over there so you can be heard?
I am not. Okay, good evening, everybody. Do I need to introduce myself for the record
Yes,
or,
if you
okay.
don't mind.
My name is Ann Armstrong and I am a new resident of Union Vale and LaGrangeville. I'm still figuring all that out. I'm over on Bloomer Road. And I suppose my question about sort of just general town issues firstly pertains to the noise ordinance. My neighbors and I recently moved in last year and unfortunately found myself sort of dropped into the middle of an issue with one rather nasty neighbor who is basically using 90s club music to sort of harass the surrounding neighbors. Used to be at all hours. Now it's a bit more random, but it is at very large volumes. Our houses are on the large plots, 2+ acres. I can hear this in my house with all my doors and windows shut, and even with my own stereo going and my TV going. I have a 2.5-year-old son who enjoys playing outside, and I enjoy being outside. And I feel like I can't really use about half of my property right now. I called the Dutchess County Sheriff. They were lovely. A deputy came out. I have his information if we want it for the record. He did make a police report. He did inform me that he needs there's nothing he could really do. He needs the town to enforce the ordinance. And I know that the noise ordinance lists a specific kind of a decibel meter. And I was wondering if
Yes.
we have the decibel meter, and if so, what needs to be done by the residents who are affected by this ongoing, long-standing nuisance in order to sort of get something done.
No, I can answer that question because the last time, now we haven't heard from you in a while. We haven't gotten phone calls, but we did go out and purchase that decimeter. And both our building department head and our head constable have been learning how to use it.
Oh, great.
And we have it in a case, and it's somewhat expensive version of it. It was very nice, and we bought it for you, not for you, but for your complaint, but we hadn't heard from anybody in a while. So it is here, and what we can do, but it would be helpful if you could send in maybe the pattern. Is there a pattern of times that maybe, and then we could have a constable go? There's no.
There's no pattern of time. It could be 2 o'clock in the morning. On
Oh, gosh.
Monday. It could be.
Oh, he works at night, doesn't he?
He doesn't work.
Yeah,
There's no
yeah.
consistency. It could be 5 o'clock on Father's Day. It could be 2 o'clock in the morning on Monday when you're trying to sleep for work. There's no consistency. It's whenever he feels the need to go out and exert his dominance. And that's what it is at this point, because he knows law enforcement can't do anything, and he knows, as you said, we kind of threw in the towel and stopped touching.
Yeah, you stopped. Yeah, you stopped.
did.
Well, listen, we have the machine.
Okay.
I remember the last time I spoke with one of you that we were going to go get the machine, and then we hadn't heard from you in a while, but they've been working with it. So this will be our first use. So if you don't mind, you have my email in it, but what we'll do is we'll exchange information. I'll talk to the constables tomorrow and the building department head, and we'll get a team effort going, depending on what hours you might text and say, guess what, it's coming again. But we have been looking for the opportunity to test this machine out. So
Anytime
we would love to come.
You drive up and down Bloomer Road, there's pretty much a guarantee it'll be going on.
Yeah.
Anytime, there's no restraint, nighttime, daytime, weekends. You drive up and down Bloomer Road, slow down in our area, and you will hear it.
All right, well, let me talk to the gentleman tomorrow, and we'll talk to you. Do we have your phone number?
I don't think so. Well, how can I leave it?
Information, that would be great. I know we have yours, and then we can follow up with you after we get this plan set in place, but we are finally equipped. Remember, it was a little issue for a while because we didn't have that machine, and there was some discussion about, whether or not it would work, but I think we're in good shape.
Awesome.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you for
I
coming
appreciate
by.
it. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Yep, I hope we can help you.
Just so you can be recorded if you don't mind, or not recorded, so people can hear you.
That's perfectly fine. My name's Riley. I also live on Bloomer Road, and unfortunately, this pertains to the same neighbor, the same type of issue. I do know that he at one point had attempted to come and register with the town's 6 dogs. And I do know that on the website, it stated that Union Vale residents can have 3 dogs registered to their property. So I don't know where we're at with that, because that was some months ago. But again, he does not have 6 dogs. He has more than 6 dogs. 6 dogs is just what he lets on. There's visibly more dogs than that at any given point, including breeding that goes on from time to time. But again, I was just curious because it was admitted that he came in trying to register 6. And if the limit's 3, where'd we fall with that discrepancy? Because they're still up there visually and audibly every day, going crazy. Going
Well,
crazy.
I know, maybe the town clerk can answer that question, because I know with the 6 dogs that registered, there was something that was done and we haven't heard of more since then. Do you
Yeah.
remember that?
Many months, but as soon as they started to register the access of 4 dogs, George, our road enforcement officer, took it to his office and we're doing it again.
And I know,
thought he wrote them a ticket. I mean, I think that, and then she came down, we'll check this for you tomorrow, but
Okay.
my understanding was that she gave one of the dogs away, whatever, to get under the required number. So now it looks like that's changed. as
Facebook
well.
posts were made for that illusion that they were being given away. But again, if you have any earshot or visibility of the yard at any given point, there are more than 6 living there. He has a fenced in front yard for them that he lets them out for hours at a clip. And there are more than 6, more than 4 of them out there at any given point.
Okay,
Yeah, and again, the breeding, yeah, that was something we had actually brought up to George ourselves before we started coming to the town meetings. We brought that up to George probably a year and a half ago with all the evidence, photos, videos,
right.
Facebook postings of the selling going on, the breeding and things like that. So I don't know what, if anything, George had done. We weren't aware that a ticket was issued. Again, we tried to reach out to George before coming to you guys and we got nowhere, hence why unfortunately we're bringing it to you folks now. But it's absolutely an excessive 4 at a minimum. And again, breeding has happened at least twice a year and is sold on Facebook. And I've actually had the pleasure of folks mistaking my driveway as the driveway to come up to purchase said dog and ring my doorbell and things. So it's still going on, ticket or not, it's still persistent.
Still happening. Okay. All right. We will start working on this tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you for coming in.
That would be annoying.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
All right.
double headaches.
Thank you for that.
Possibly the firearm shooting has ceased, but we had that as well.
Really?
We had to have the DEC involved because he's less than 500 feet from 3 different
I
dwellings.
bet, yeah.
And he was intentionally shooting when people were using their yard and barbecue and he brought for target practice. So
Mm.
that was the only one area that we got a little bit of relief from because the Dutchess County courts said stop. It was ACD, again, nothing really happened, but at least they brought it to his attention that you're shooting well under the 500 feet rule
Right.
with 3 different dwellings.
Oh, wow.
What
Wow, wow, wow.
an irresponsible person.
Well, thank you. We appreciate it. Okay, are there any other comments on town issues?
Yeah, Betsy, can I bring up something?
If you, excuse me, you want to come up and introduce yourself?
Does anybody really not know who I am?
I do not. and
I'm
my
Carrie
name-
Sheehan and
Terry.
I actually live in Poughkeepsie. I have family that lives on North Clove Road. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up, the rural cemetery, this is a huge issue. We went, my husband and I know you don't usually go shopping for your cemetery plots, but we did. And we're in Poughkeepsie Rural Cemetery. We found out about 15 years ago that this is a huge issue in New York State and other states. These smaller town cemeteries, people are no longer buying cemetery plots anymore. People are doing cremations. It's much cheaper. That's why you see a lot of GoFundMe pages on. People aren't going and burying people. My father-in-law, when he was alive, it was probably about 4 or 5 years ago. John and I were driving up, to the property. And to the property, and we happened to see my father-in-law using his lawnmower, mowing their cemetery. And we were like, holy crap. So we asked him when he got home, and he said, it hasn't been done, it needed to be done, I had to go do it. He called the former supervisor and said, listen, this has got to stop. I mean, we got to get somebody to do this. And everybody knows landscaping is not cheap. All right, it's not. And the money that they're asking for, I'd be surprised if that even brings them into like the first week of August, what they're asking for. So it's, if you look into it, I don't know how many other cemeteries are in Unionville, but they're not going to be the first one coming around. Okay, so and it's true, the towns are absorbing this cost now because Nobody's buying plots anymore. Everybody's putting their family member on their mantles or wherever, because they just don't have the money there. So that's what I wanted to tell you, but this is not gonna be the end. All right?
All right, thank you very much. Anybody else have a comment about a town issue? No? All right, well, then the final reminder. On the 29th of June at 5 p.m. here is going to be that Dr. Vincent Cookingham, the PhD, who was the forensic scientist who I think solved the cold case, the German family murders, you know, the dairy farm
Oh.
family that were murdered.
Yeah,
And he's coming here at 5 o'clock. He's going to come in early next week to kind of review all the equipment. And then he's going to come in and he's going to give a presentation on all the evidence, the crime scene photos and other forensic evidence of one of the most famous crimes ever committed in the Hudson Valley. It's been over 30 years he's spent over 30 years investigating, or he has a lot of experience. And it sounds to me like he kind of saves it to the end, but it sounds like he actually did solve it, but I think that's what we'll hear about. That's the suspense. You have to come. And he says he can get as much into detail about the forensics as we want. Like if people are turned off by it, he can not do as much, but if you're very interested in forensic science, that he's going to go through that. So it could be a really fun evening, and we're hoping a lot of folks will come, especially the seniors. It's a little early at 5 p.m. But it'll be a
come after
beautiful night.
dinner.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, the seniors will come, but everybody else, please, if you're off that day or can get over early, come join us. All right, it should be interesting. June 29th, 5 p.m. Up here at our town hall. It's totally free. He's a speaker, but he's not charging us either. But he will be selling a book about the German family murders. So it's a win-win. Okay, so hope you
Okay.
guys come back. All right, I don't have anything else. Does anybody else have anything to offer?
Make a motion, we go into executive session, discuss a personnel issue.
It sounds good. Is there a second?
A second.
Thank you. All in favor? We will go into executive session. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay, we're gonna have an executive session now. And then we're gonna wrap up the meeting. Thank you for being here.
Good luck.
Bye-bye. We'll talk soon. You're gonna report off when you're finished.
Yes.
How long do we wait? I'm old. How long do we wait? We're closing the meeting after we're finished. We're closing the meeting after we're finished.
Yeah, but then we finish the executive session, you're supposed to tell us.
Oh, we'll tell you now. It's about
Well,
it's a
okay,
personnel
okay.
issue.
You get your car?
It's a personnel issue.
Oh,
And Elfrida, there will be no action taken.
okay.
I'll talk to you tomorrow about the. Wait.
Oh, it has-
Yeah.
Yeah,